We think you should know that Imperfect Heroes podcast is a production of Little Hearts Academy USA.
You're listening to Imperfect Heroes, Insights into Parenting, the perfect podcast for imperfect parents looking to find joy in their experience of raising children in an imperfect world. And I'm your host, DJ Stutz. Welcome, everybody. And this month we are talking about taking risks. We as parents take risks all the time, and our children take risks. And sometimes we're like, no, don't. But they really need to. So we're going to be talking about that. I have an amazing guest, Brittany Lindsay. And Brittany, before we get started, I just want to remind parents that Roman is Bigger is still available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and I know it's also on the Walmart website. You can get it there. And it's about a little boy who has big feelings. That is bigger than mad, and he's bigger than happy, and bigger than scared. All these fun things. And the fun thing is we are in the process now of working with the editor and the publisher on the next episode with Roman. And so that's going to be, Roman is a bigger brother and he gets a new brother. So you certainly want to get the first in the series, which is this one. And then I'll be letting you know when the next one is available, but it's going to be soon. So we're just, it takes time to get through all of the editing and the publishing and all of that kind of stuff. So all fun stuff. All right, let's get going. Brittany, I'm so excited. Now, we've had a fun conversation. We really connected, and we connected a while ago, and you're in Houston. I have a daughter in Houston, and with the crazy storms, and yeah. We talked, though, about how when we let our kids challenge themselves, sometimes we're like, oh, is he okay? Is she okay? Is that going to work out? So where do we draw the line? How do we encourage them to take risks? How important is it to let them? And then every day we wake up and we climb out of bed, we're taking risks as adults, right? Driving a car is very risky. I think especially in Houston. Yeah. Anyway, it's just how do we find that balance, and how do you as a mom, so you have a son that has some sensory differences. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Introduce us to yourself and to your son, and then let's really think about that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my name is Brittany. As you said, I'm in my mid-30s. I will not reveal. I'm a newly single mom, and my son is 6, and he is on the spectrum. He is just like Roman. He has very big emotions. He's very passionate. And he also has ADHD and sensory processing disorder, SPD. Mm-hmm. So for me, taking a risk was every day working at his sensory disorder, processing disorder. And that entails as in, he doesn't have the same schedule. I always call it the cookie cutter schedule as a typical kid would have, with the going to schools or going to, grandparents' houses or friends' houses. It doesn't quite work that way. It's very unpredictable. So you're taking a risk on not knowing what the risk will be, and at the same time finding the joy of taking that risk, whether it turns out the way you want it to be or not.
Right.
And I've really built a huge, including yourself involved, a huge village from this risk. I recently decided to resign from my job. I would say with an S.
That's a risk.
That's a huge risk. It's worth the risk, but then when bills are due, you're like, okay, what did I just do? But that risk actually helped me to see what my son really needs from me as a parent. And then what he is able to teach others from the need we're developing together. And that involved resigning him from school and homeschooling him. That was a risk because I've never done that.
Yeah. And so I think when we're looking at risks, I think part of succeeding is finding the right support system. Okay, I'm going to homeschool. Who do I need around me as I take this risk? Oh, I'm going to resign from my, I'm going to resign from my job and take on a whole nother road for me. So what do I need to have in place to make it all work out for me? And what do I need to learn? What do I need to grow? What do I need to do? Right? And then those are the risks that we take as adults. And then for kids, oftentimes taking a risk is like letting them climb that tree or
go to the park for me. Just going to the
go
park.
to the park. And you never know. Now, let me just tell you, even if you have a quote unquote typical child, you still don't know how that's going to turn out. You
really don't.
They may get upset. They may punch a kid or they may get punched. Control your child. It's like, oh, yes. Well, okay. And so it's hard to know. And really, if they're in a situation like that, knowing when to step in, giving them the opportunity to try and resolve some kind of a conflict with another child, whether that's a sibling or a friend or someone they don't even know from the park. When do you step in? Because you need to give them that chance to try and work it out themselves. And so all of that is risk.
It is a big risk. And then you're risking yourself as in how you're going to respond to it. It's a risk, especially if you haven't had it happen before. I've had so many different type of risks. Listen, I mean, there are risks where I'm confident and I'm able to say, hey, okay, let's breathe. Let's do your counting down. Mm-hmm. Let's go give a hug. Let's prepare before the risk happens to say, okay, if this happens, we're going to do this. And then there are times I did all of that on a checklist and literally nothing worked. And I'm sitting there crying with him, embarrassed. And we recover. We're resilient. We recover. I've had one where I'll never forget. A little boy took one of his very favorite toys after he took his toy. Well, he took his toy. And then the little boy was like, okay, well, let me use your toy. And my son had a big meltdown, like in the book. Roman. He was like, you don't ever do that. Give me. And the little boy could barely talk. He's like, but you took my toy. And I'm just like, okay, John, I'm trying to reset him. I'm just like, it's okay. You took his toy. And the fact of the matter was he was sleepy. And that sleep took over his cognitive responses. He just was not having it. And I remember just sitting there, all the parents pausing and everyone staring at me like, you can't control your kid. And the little girl in me, the little girl, not even the mom in me, the little girl wants to get up, run to the car, zoom out of there and say, see, this is why I shouldn't have never did that. I shouldn't have never went to the park today. I should have stuck to the same things that we normally do. But I have to work at it. He needs to be around his peers and he needs to understand, even when he's sleepy, okay, that happened. Let's talk about what happened. Right. So the little girl in me did not run. I sat there and I cried. And I looked at another lady and I go, this is really hard. She was from Honduras. And she goes, where I'm from in Honduras, we have kids like that, but everybody pitches in. And I end up picking up a friend from that risk. And we're still to this day neighbors. Yes. All her kids, and we see each other at the donut shop. She became, from that risk, I gained a friend. And so it just
love that
courage and perseverance to say, hey, I'm crying, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's very hard. And she tells me how it is, and that's how I'm able to build my village from these risks.
Right. And I love, there's so much that you just said that is just so important and so engaging, because a lot of times we think of risk with negativity. Right. I could get hurt. My child could get hurt. Someone could yell at me. I could get embarrassed. I could lose my job. I could whatever.
Anxiety.
And we concentrate on all of that. But look at the opportunities that come from risk. So you gained that friend, right? And who saw that coming?
Never. She hugged
Right.
him. He hugs her every time we
Oh,
ride our bikes past her
oh.
house. They're outside. We're like, "Hi, you coming to the park with us?" Because you can't forget that experience. But yeah, I gained a friend from that. And I'm happy the little girl in me did not take
Yeah,
over and
yeah.
run from that risk. But the mom in me, that
Mm-hmm.
autism mom, was like, no, cry, get it out.
Yeah,
Don't fake it out. Be for real, because somebody might be at the swing set watching and they may have went through this yesterday and they
right.
may need an example. So let's put an example. And then the funny thing is,
Mhm.
the little boy that he had the meltdown with, they end up giving each other. They're playing now. They don't want to be apart from
Right.
each other. Don't go, leave me. I'm like, what?
Right. Right.
He is the one that initiates. I want to bring this, and he even brings snacks. He's like, "Mommy, I have to
Oh,
go put my snacks in my bag, and I gotta bring my snacks to the park." And I'm thinking, okay, but they may not like, but he likes it, and he's gonna share. So me as a parent,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to find the value in those risks, and those risks are
Mm-hmm.
helping him to learn how to be
Mm-hmm.
in society, to be better, and even teaching others how to treat him. It's a lose comfort, but you gain endurance and an experience and
Exactly.
price value, just so much value in lessons is how
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to look at risk. And even like I said, with
Right.
resigning from my job, that is not something, but I saw my son needed me. And it was the
Yeah.
best decision I've met. You inspired so many more parents.
Looking at the whole picture, and yeah, it's scary. It's scary.
Very,
But it's scary, I think, to put yourself out there and be
it's the
willing to be part
vulnerability.
of the village for someone else and letting someone else come in to your village with all the craziness that's out there. But there are also really sweet, loving, dear people that I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to get to know, because I would have never, ever, they would not have been in my circle otherwise.
Right. It takes vulnerability on both ends. You have to
Mm-hmm.
open your mind and heart
Mm-hmm.
and explore
Mm-hmm.
what risk, and then hope that, vice versa. They're being
Yeah.
vulnerable to open up to say, hey, I
Yeah.
need help. And a lot of these parents that I meet that you're referring to, they want to pay it a generation forward. They
Yes, they
realize what
do.
was given or
Mm-hmm.
offered to them by no choice is broken, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to pass on that broken dent to theirs. They want it to be
Right.
better. But then sometimes you
Right.
get neat where the children
Mm-hmm.
realize, hey, I
Mm-hmm.
want a different outcome. Even though my parents are they're
Yeah.
constant to see what the reality is here, I
Right.
don't want my reality to evolve with me as I departure to build my own family. It's a
Exactly.
sticky
And
situation. It really is.
it is. It is. It is. But when our kids see us reaching out to people who might not be in, like, they don't go to our church, or they don't live in our
Right,
neighborhood, or they might look
right.
different than we do. And I'm talking about even beyond skin color. There may be
Yeah.
a radical haircut, or
Behavior, just even behavior. They may be
behaviors,
socially
or
different.
loudness, or quietness, or whatever. When they see us reaching out and not coming to those judgments, they're going to learn to do those
Yeah,
things as well.
right.
And that's a risk too.
It
Being
is.
willing to put away your judgment is scary almost.
It's very scary because you're thinking, am I crazy? Or, is
Mm-hmm.
this a wise idea to go beyond what is my norm of comfort that I know? And I find myself like that
Right.
now that I'm an autistic mom. Before I was an autistic mom, I wasn't very understanding. I'll say I was
Mm.
like, you need to get your kid, why would you let this type of kid out in public?
Someone
All that
control
crazy.
that child.
Crazy. Now look at me. And it's crazy because I want to go back on what you said about having your children see you take those risks, having them
Mm-hmm.
experience the risk with you, because
Mm-hmm.
then they develop their own handling of risk. And I've seen it with my own child. Like now, study him just going up to people, he'll politely go up, watch them, and then he'll be like, hey, do you want to be my friend? Do you want to play with me?
Mm.
Can you play with me right now? And the old me would be like, no, you can't, don't talk to that kid yet. Let him talk to you. Let him, I have to bite my tongue, sit back, let him, and the parent and I will make an eye contact, or even if the parent doesn't make an eye contact with me, they're just like,
Right.
he still gets to develop how he wants to handle that risk of going up to a stranger and their child to say, hey, can you be my friend and play with me? Because I want to play with you.
That is so
So,
huge for an autistic child.
yeah,
And it's
he's
got to be
even
really
taking a risk.
scary.
Very scary. Well, we just met someone from New York, and sweetest lady. And two of the children were her grandchildren. One of them were her actual daughter. I know.
Oh, wow.
And we both thought they were all three her kids, and they were in the Chick-fil-A playpen area,
Oh, yeah.
yelling. And my child don't like loud noises unexpectedly. So he goes up, and I'm on my computer and my phone. I'm just writing my notes, reading, start juicing. And so I turn around and I hear him say, excuse me, can you tell your children to quiet down? They're really hurting my ears and it's making me sad. I was just like, me and him, like, what are you doing? In my mind, I'm like, what are you doing? And she looked at him and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to get them to quiet down, but they are playing. He goes, okay. So I let him get a moment in, and inside I'm just like, why would he do that? He's never done that. He's very vocal now that he can talk, because he was nonverbal for years. And so now that he can talk, he expresses everything. And stepping back, actually, when we get out of the car, normally I'm always blocking so he doesn't go up to strangers. This time around, I'm like, the same day, I'm going to let him lead the way. I'm going to let him get his Sprite, get his condiments, let him carry the tray. Doing all of this. Inside, I'm yelling, like, what? Why? I just want to do it so it doesn't go wrong. But actually, it went better than I would have been doing it, because he had the people up at the front get followers for his little YouTube channel. He learned now how to go get his Sprite at the counter. He even told someone, a guy that was, you have like the people that clean and everything that go to the door.
Yeah.
He's like, you're a stranger, and my mommy said I cannot talk to strangers, so you can't talk to me because you're a stranger. I was just like, okay, that was a big risk, and now I have to explain to him that is true, but you got to hold that in your head. You don't let that out. And the guy thought it was so cute. He's like, exactly. He's like, you're teaching them well.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
I know. Say it. I told him what to do.
It's so funny. I remember one time I was standing in line at the store, and I was pregnant with my third. And so Shiloh was almost 3. He was almost 3. So he's getting a little verbal, right? And we're waiting in line, and I'm just so exhausted, big with baby, and it was summer, and so we're waiting in line, and there was an older lady, a grandma lady, probably my age now, that was waiting behind us, and she's like, hey, little man, how are you? And he looked up because we taught him stranger danger and all of this stuff, right? He looked up at her and goes, bug off, lady.
Oh, wow. See?
I nearly died. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Hey, Jonah, how are you?
Jonah, we was just talking about you.
I want to say hello to your teacher.
Okay, you can say hello.
Hi.
Hello.
It's so good to see you, Joe.
Hello, Mom's teacher.
Hello. Do you remember me from when we were talking before?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun seeing you.
There he is.
And there we are. Yeah.
I love swear, that. I did not create his personality. It's the risk of it all, for sure. I never know what he's going to say. I just brace myself.
Well, I have news. That happens with typical children as well.
I want to say, all parents out there that children don't talk yet, and they're losing hope saying, one day will he ever talk? Get ready, because when they do, you have no.
Be careful what you wish for.
Right. Here you are, Joe. You have to take it with you, buddy.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I would dream of him calling that name, Mom. Hey, Mom, Mom. And then you have mutism out there. And so I wanted the risk, and now here's the risk. I never know what he's going to say. I have to brace myself.
That's right. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That's funny. Let's jump back in though. But
I'm
I
so
think
sorry.
it's no, don't be sorry. I love that. It lets our followers know that we are real people and we are raising real kids and we are just making it all work just like they are. And
Yeah.
so, anyway, yeah, not a problem, not a deal. You bring up though that great point of, we talk about stranger danger and trying to find that balance of letting them say things like that, bug off lady, or you're a stranger, I'm not supposed to talk to you, and those kinds of things. But I think people in general are very accepting and understanding
That's what you
of
find out
those
from the
kinds of
risk.
words coming from a child. Mm-hmm.
Right. It teaches, because can you imagine your son not saying bug off lady? If he never said it, he would have thought that was okay to say for a long time. Bug off. And then
Yeah.
at an age, he's not cute no more. I had to say that. You're like, this is rude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those actually, I look at them as very valuable lessons. You won't get those
Mm-hmm.
lessons in non-risking situations. You won't. So
Right.
I find the treasure in uncomfortable situations. And you get to feel and see yourself. It's almost like,
Mm-hmm.
I think of copper. Copper has to go through a process before it's actual copper.
Right.
And if it
Right.
doesn't go through that process, then it's not really good, valuable copper. We can't enjoy it. So think about ourselves with this risk.
Right.
If we don't go through the risk, how do we know we're strong, very life valuable humans to each other to evolve and make
Mm-hmm.
the world a better place? Like, how would you know your
Mm-hmm.
son is built with mannerism if you don't take the risk and say bug off or mine? He needs to understand how to
Right.
hold in certain things of social discretion. You know?
Right. Right. And I think as a society, we're at a point where we are eliminating opportunities for many of our kids to take that risk. Literally, as a
That is what I
kindergarten teacher, I would be here, you're turning the kids over. Your school day is done and you're turning the kids over to moms, dads, grandmas, older brothers and sisters, all this stuff, right? And I
right.
literally would see parents, and it seems like every year I would have at least one parent that would be like, those little bumps that are in the parking lot in
Oh, yeah,
between
right,
car things? They're cement.
right.
And the kids want to walk along those like a balance beam,
Yeah, Jonah
and
loves
then
those.
jump off at the end.
Right.
Right. And be like, oh, no, you could fall. You could get hurt. No, no, no. And
They need to
when
fall.
you do that kind of stuff, kids think, oh, I'm not capable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not strong. For whatever reason, I'm not enough of
Right.
whatever it is. For my parents to think that I am not capable of doing this task, whether it is something that is physical, whether it
Mm-hmm.
is something that is social, educational. How many
Yeah.
times do we see parents doing the science project for the kid? And yet that
Yeah.
tells the child what you were going to do is not good enough.
Yeah, how can you build their confidence though? That's the
Exactly.
question I ask a lot of those parents that I meet. Yes, I understand your intentions behind. No, I don't want you to
Mm-hmm.
fall because that's like we said, that's thousands of dollar
Right.
bill. But then again, they're gonna grow up and they're gonna make mistakes and they have to have confidence. I find that for me and my son, his confidence is everything because I won't always be here,
Mm-hmm.
and even
Right.
some in our village won't always be here. One thing you can't take away from a kid is their confidence. That's a choice that they want to let that go or not. So you
Yeah.
want them to have confidence because then when they do
Right.
take the risk, they're even more resilient to bounce back and learn from it.
So true. So true. And so then we have people who are afraid of standing up for themselves.
Right.
Sometimes even worse, they're afraid to stand up for someone else.
Yeah.
Right?
I was one of them.
So like even I'm doing a shameless plug, in my book Roman is Bigger, there's a part where he's at the park, it's after school, and he sees some friends that are teasing this little girl, about her curly hair, and she's crying, and he could have just walked away. He could have just like, because these kids are definitely looking mean or whatever. But instead he goes up and he's like, hey, that's not cool. being mean isn't cool. And then he looks at the little girl and he says, come with me. We're going to go play somewhere else. He's removing her from the situation, right? And then his mom's like, oh, you're so brave. No, he's bigger than brave. So
I love that
had
part.
that book memorized. I know. So
I love that. It's like one of my favorite parts of the book, right?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So it's just so important that we teach our children that sometimes taking risks, and we're going to talk later on, I think in August. Is it August we're talking about bravery? But teaching them that sometimes doing the right thing is a risk. And there can be positive and there can be negative repercussions because you chose to do the right thing. By letting them take risks and feel confident in that, they're going to build that self-esteem to say, yeah, I don't need you. I'm fine. So I love this story. And this was an older child, but when I first started teaching, actually, I thought I was going to do high school. And so I was doing some student teaching and stuff in high school in Las Vegas. Again, inner city, high crime. That's what I do. But two of my kids actually went to that school. And I was walking, it was after school, and I was walking around getting ready to take some paperwork down to the office. And I could look over, I'm on the second story, and I'm looking out over a balcony, and I could see one of my kids' friends. And they hang out with him all the time. And he had no idea I could see him. And he's walking off with some kids that are not okay kids. They were taggers, they were druggies, and everybody knew it. I can't hear what he's saying, he's too far off. But he's very animated, which this kiddo was, pretty animated kid. And you can see him talking and la la la, and he's trying to get them. And then all of a sudden, you just see him go, oh. His shoulders go down, his head goes down, and he turned around and walked away and left that group.
Oh, wow.
Like he knew I was trying to get them to not do whatever they were going to do. I know they were going to get in trouble, but I couldn't talk them out of it. And so I had to walk away. And I saw some of the kids kind of turn around and like they said something to him. I have no idea what they said. But I was just like so impressed. So I called his mother. Cindy, you won't believe what I just saw.
Right. Better get him something.
Yeah, brag on your boy.
Right. You know, listen, that experience just make me think about when they grow up. Let's just be honest. When you're an adult in a workplace, even sometime online, cyberbullying, like I had someone say something so mean on my channel, and here was the inadvertent risk, not responding, saying, I appreciate your gesture, but maybe you should check out this. And thanks for taking the time to express your feelings, even though they were very mean.
Yeah.
You know,
I appreciate the fact that you thought I was worth this time.
Yeah. It makes me feel very special because you could have just not said nothing. I would have never known you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I'll get that sometimes too because I have a strong stand on instilling values, and I have a strong stand on having boundaries that are real boundaries. They don't depend on, I'm not feeling well today. I had a bad day at work today. I had whatever. My favorite show was on, you know. And so that the boundaries are the same all the time. And I'll get comments sometimes that are negative, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, thank you. But what's really fun is when you see someone else step in and say, that's not cool. You don't need to call her that.
Right. That's showing up for the risk, because you're going to show up for the risk and take whatever comes after it. That young man did that. You know, it hurt because, of course, it's like, man, I went out of my comfort zone to try to stop them, but they're going to do whatever. And then there's a risk of follow-up after. You know,
yes, exactly. And how deep do I want to take this conversation?
Right. You know, I think this is really, really, really important for even not just children like mine on the spectrum, but children that are neurotypical take these risks because everybody's so into the phone. And even being into the phone, we live in this generation of it ain't me and I don't see. You know, it ain't me and I don't see it. You know, versus now we want to, no, I see it even though it's not me, and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to take the risk and approach it even in the workplace, you know, you may lose your job for standing up. I had a lady that worked at a law firm and she was telling me some interesting things. And I told her, I said, you know who you need to follow? Dr. Romney. And I should have gave her your information, but it's not about children. So it was more of like the workplace. And I'm like, this person that's bullying you is a narcissist. So I wasn't directly there, but it was a risk to give her my personal experience. And
Sure.
I haven't heard back from her, but
Sure.
last time I talked to her, she was like, it's working. I stood up for myself and I let them know by my decision, I'm not going to quit my job and you're not going to get me fired. I'm going to work the way we're supposed to be working here.
Yeah. Well, so much good information. I see Joe's back. Hi, Joe. Good to see you again. Hi.
Yeah,
He calls me mom's teacher.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I can't open it, so Mom has to open it, but I have to escape first.
Okay, sure.
Mom.
Sure.
I love the way that you asked, Joe.
This side is for home.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. He loves zebra cake.
Yeah.
Mom's teacher, thank you.
Mom's teacher, thank you.
All right. So
You're welcome, buddy.
Okay.
Is it good? Does it taste good? Okay, well, and so much great information and so much encouragement on just how everyday parents are dealing with risk in their own lives, in their children's lives.
Okay,
and so thank you so much for all of this insight. And so, Brittany, though I know you've got a book out, and I would love for you to tell our followers about it, and how do they get in touch with you?
Yes. So my book that's recently published on Amazon, it's actually called Peaceful Parenting, Maintaining Anxiety as a Parent of a Child with Sensory Disorder, and expressing how, I know, play school actually helps children build strong foundation connections in a social environment, and also prepares them for pre-academic situation, just general life skills and understanding, okay, I don't understand something. How do I handle it with communicating with my teachers, my peers, and even building confidence and knowing that you learn differently. But you have to first source those skills to the parents and the teachers. And it's a 4-chapter book. I put my all into telling different parts of the spectrum, how to deal with that. Next is I'm an autism parent consultant. So for autistic parents, whether they have a diagnosis or not, or they have children that mostly the younger ages like mine, to go to my PIN site. I'll put the link. If you want to put it below, they can click that.
Yeah,
and
we'll put it in the show notes.
And also have a virtual school camp starting in July. So it's for children that are pre-K to first grade. We're doing it all the way up until I think the end of August. We might run it further into September. So this is our first virtual camp for children on the spectrum that are starting school. We want to build that social environment, help them approach those sensory disorder issues that they may experience online first. So when they go to school, it's not such a shocker because they already have their emotional toolbox ready from their home online and build those long-term relationships.
That's amazing. What a great resource for parents who have kids on the spectrum. Amazing. Well, thank you, Brittany, so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing. And so, of course, before we go, I have to ask you the same question I ask everyone else, is because we know there are no perfect parents, but how would you describe a successful parent?
I would say take the risk. Take the risk. Take the risk. Don't hide your response to the risk, so to speak, because we're all learning together. We all are in this, whether we're veterans like yourself or we're newbies like me learning. We can all make, I call it a great recipe meal for life, to really relish and enjoy one another's experience.
And because really parenting is a huge risk and it never ends. You think, oh, they're out of high school. I have a grandson that just graduated last week.
No.
And, they're out of high school. And my son is like, oh, and all this is done. I'm like, oh, no.
No, you just started.
No.
Yeah,
just started. He's going to college and
and then they have kids.
Yeah, and then he'll get married and then he'll have children. Yeah, no, it doesn't end. It doesn't end. But we find joy.
Yes.
In all of it. We find joy even in the hard times. So anyway, thank you so much, Brittany. And we'll talk again. And I know you and I will talk again. And so for everyone else, until next time, let's find joy in parenting. See ya.
Bye.